Welcome back. Breaking news from Capitol Hill. House Republicans just released a text of its new government funding plan and scheduled a vote for the 5 p.m. hour. The plan does not include an increase to the debt limit and will need two-thirds support to pass. And for more, here's the panel. I'm joined by Kevin Frey, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News' New York One, Simone Sanders Townsend, former chief spokesperson for Vice President Harris and co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend, and Mike Dubke, who served as a White House communications director during Donald Trump's first term. Thank you all so much for joining me. So let's turn to the breaking news. Kevin, what are you hearing?
Right. So, I mean, look, Democrats are now going to have to make their decision. We don't really know where they're going to land quite yet. And it really comes down to the ball being in their court, because if they're going under suspension, which is how they're proceeding, they're going to need a fair number of Democrats to join with the Republicans to actually get this done. We're waiting to see what Jeffries is advising them to do and exactly how they're planning to proceed. But we know that lines of communication have been open with Jeffries. It's unclear exactly where he's landed yet.
Simone, just a few minutes ago, we heard from Congresswoman Dingell. She said that there had been no Democratic caucus meeting yet, that she was waiting for that. And now, in the last few minutes, we hear Republicans have scheduled a vote. What do you make of that?
Well, I called before we came on like 3 Democrats, and I'm like, nobody's answering. Are they running into a meeting? So I'm texting everyone. And I just got a text from a senior Democratic member of Congress who said, we meet at 5 p.m. And this member says they suspect the votes will be there as long as they confirm there are no poison provisions. So to me, that says a couple things. One, that Democrats want to go home. Okay. And two, that they want to. Christmas is literally around the corner, Mike. And two, that they don't want to play with people around Christmas. You know, there are folks that are looking for their checks. They don't want this uncertainty. But my concern is that they are now setting a precedent. Democrats had a deal with the Republicans. Okay, now some stuff happened. The Republicans didn't have their ducks in order. Speaker Johnson has to manage up and manage down, and he didn't do that necessarily effectively. I mean, kind of hard when Elon Musk is tweeting out there. So this is, I don't think, a good precedent if this is not the deal the Democrats originally had with Republicans.
So, Simone, it sounds to me like you think they should stay and fight.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm not an elected member of Congress, so who am I?
Well, there we go. Well, Mike, does this seem like the Republicans are trying to muscle this through? I mean, Democrats haven't even met yet.
Well, we've got a countdown clock. You've got a countdown clock going in the lower corner of the screen. So I think, everyone's looking to get out of town for this, and I just say, welcome to the next 4 years. This is just the start. I have no idea where President Biden is, or any.
We will get to that, because I asked the press secretary about that. But what do you make of Elon Musk's tweet just in the last hour or so, asking, is this a Republican bill or a Democrat bill? How much influence does Elon Musk have, and should he have this much?
I don't understand this weird obsession that the Democrats, they kept referring last night to President Musk or President Elon. He is a useful tool right now for President Trump, and he is getting quite a bit of free advertising for X at the moment. Every time the news media puts up a tweet by Musk. It's all part of this orchestration that's coming out of Mar-a-Lago that I think, we saw that first vote go down. The second vote then never happened, and now we're on to Plan C.
Could it be that tweet we saw a few minutes ago from Musk, I mean, do you really think he tweeted that without talking to Trump? Was that, perhaps floating out there to see what the reaction would be? Then Trump doesn't have to take a position one way or the other yet?
As a non-billionaire, I don't know who talks to who first. But no, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they didn't have a discussion.
Can I just say there is real money to be made for a senior advisor to Elon Musk, because he doesn't understand the politics. Mike, I'm not saying I'm your agent, but I do want you to call Elon Musk, because he doesn't understand how it's working. And I do think that with a little more knowledge, he could actually be more effective, because it's my understanding he frustrated some Republican members of Congress. They're like, he don't even know what he's talking about.
So, Kevin, listening to what Simone just said, the possibility that Democrats might go along with this, we don't know. But how do you see the next couple hours playing out?
I mean, but just to build off of that, though, if they end up going with this plan, it's much closer to what Elon Musk was seemingly pushing for. So in some ways, even if he was kind of scattershot tweeting with or without Trump's weigh-in, he seems to be kind of getting his way in some some degree, especially if what you're hearing is correct, that they end up going along with it.
Okay, so
Mike,
Mike, back to the point you made previously.
Yeah.
President Biden has not spoken out publicly about this. Simone, you're shaking your head. I asked Debbie Dingell about this
I saw the press briefing today.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Karine Jean-Pierre, I asked her, is the president leading right now? She said, yes, he is. And she said that the strategy essentially from the White House was to get out of the way and let Republicans, this is a Republicans' mess, that they are talking with Democratic leadership, Jeffries and Schumer, about messaging, but the president doesn't need to go out there and talk about this because it is not his mess.
Correct.
You agree
What
with
do
that?
people want Joe Biden to say? I told y'all so? I told you it's going to be chaos?
He's the president of the United States.
It's not his mess. We have a Democrat in the White House. We have a democratically led Senate. We're in lame duck with a Republican-led House. How, as we end 2024, is this not Joe Biden?
Because it is the Republicans' job to get their caucus in order, and Democrats and Republicans had a deal.
That's right.
And then Mike Johnson said, great, this is it. They went out there, everybody was like, we're happy. RFK Stadium was coming back to D.C. They were going to get control, going to develop that waterfront, honey. Now that's not probably happening. And then what happened? Elon Musk tweeted, Donald Trump put out a statement with J.D. Vance's name on it, and now chaos. So I don't think the president should have said anything. If he was going to say anything, it's like,
Well, you
I
got
tried
your
to tell
wish.
y'all.
You got your wish because he didn't say a thing.
yes, what did people want Joe Biden to say, really? What should he have said? What would you advise?
Okay, well, Simone, I'll ask you the same question I asked Karine Jean-Pierre. Is he leading right now?
Joe Biden didn't make this mess. Yes, he's leading. He's the president of the United States. If there's a deal that happens in Gaza, it will it will be because of what Joe Biden's administration has done. Those are the negotiators. But on this, do you want Joe Biden to call up Speaker Johnson and say, this is how I suggest you talk to Donald Trump?
There was a question asked today, has he reached out to Speaker Johnson? You're saying he shouldn't do that as a president of the United States, as a leader of the Democratic Party?
It is not on Joe Biden to clean up the Republican Party's mess and the Republican caucus in Congress. And I would also argue that's the same for Democrats. So House Democrats need to make sure they're getting something out of this deal, I would argue, or they're setting a very bad precedent for the next 4 years.
So, speaking of the next 4 years, Kevin, if we're seeing this much chaos on Capitol Hill now, what do you expect in March?
Right, well, I mean, that was one of the things I asked Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis today, who was very frustrated, one, with how Speaker Johnson has handled this whole scenario. She felt that the Republican Party writ large was not brought into the conversation when they were crafting this deal to begin with. She called it, I'll use not the word that she used, but mishandled, I think was the word that she used. She can insert a curse word in there before that. Yeah. But this all opens up this question that they are, as part of this deal, making a handshake agreement to do this debt ceiling negotiation down the line as part of the reconciliation process, where you are going to need, because of the makeup of the House, all of the Republicans in line to get things through and send it over to the Senate. If they can't get this done without so much chaos, one can only imagine how the next years are going to play out.
And Kevin, as we start to wind down here, Dave Weigel tweeted yesterday, I want to put it up on the screen. He said, one refrain I've heard from Dems, voters are kind of desensitized to this. Nobody's losing elections because of how they voted on shutdown brinksmanship. Quote, the price of failure has been devalued, according to Congressman Dan Kildee of Michigan. Do you agree with that? Is the price of, does anybody care anymore if the government shuts down?
I mean, I think part of the thought, with Dan Kildee being perhaps the exception, for the Democrats was, if you look at the last 2 years of Republicans being in charge of the House, you saw the Speaker battle 1, Speaker battle 2, and ongoing brinkmanship. So shouldn't that have set up the idea that Republicans can't be trusted to lead? And they were given another 2 years in power.
I mean, Democrats bailed them out at every single time, though. They worked with the Republicans, as they should, because that's their job. But they didn't get, I don't think that they did a good enough job of ensuring that the people knew that they were the reason. Mike Johnson could have done it without them.
Right now, this is a lot of chatter. And people are looking at Washington, and frankly, they're probably not even looking at Washington. They're trying to figure out what the last gifts and stocking stuffers are going to be. But until we have a shutdown, and you can't board that plane, and you don't get that Social Security check, that's when the American people are going to pay attention, not this brinkmanship.
And Mike, to close, does Mike Johnson survive as House Speaker after this?
I think so, because no other human being wants the job.
Hard agree.
And on that note, we can all agree on that. Kevin, Simone, Mike, thank you all for joining us here on the panel on Meet the Press Now.